Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The next Wasteless Works talks are here with Kevin and Bill and myself. And today we will speak about timing. And if we do so, of course, the first question will be, what means for you timing? Starting with you, Kevin.
Timing is being at the right place at the right time. It's that's how I see it. It's there's no point in inventing something if it doesn't have a use for another 10 years, and there's no point in doing something which has been done 25 times before. You have to be at exactly the right place at the right time to achieve something, and that's what I consider timing to be all about. It could be both good or it could be very unfortunate. So hopefully good timing rather than bad timing.
What about you, Bill? I think that your answer will be different because of your industrial experience.
My father used to tell me that timing is everything. So in the business world, as Kevin said, you can have the best idea in the world. You could have the idea that's going to save humanity, and it means nothing. It means nothing if the timing's not there. The timing could be there, and you have no idea. Like right now, you just asked me my thoughts on timing, and my mind drew a complete blank. So the timing was not there. If the timing were there, I could sound very intelligent. But it is timing is everything, and over the years I've seen it happen many times, that the idea was there. I knew it was a good idea, maybe mine, maybe somebody else's, but the situation was not right for other people to pick up and for it to happen.
It's quite interesting that you mentioned this, because generally for me, the first what I came to my mind was the timing of a production line. So something of a setup of a you do not keep your and so on. So it was in my mind first. And what was interesting, at the noontime, I have the same topic with on another event. And I have there two young people from India. And generally I cannot say that they don't know the term timing, but they can define only the term time. But the timing itself was not there. And they said time has a special word in Hindu or Sanskrit or anywhere else, and it has a special meaning, and it's the most important part, and so on. But they really has not been able to describe timing, which was quite interesting. And on the other hand, Pat, which is from Australia, which worked for many years as in the hospital as a nurse, she knows very well, because the pills the patients has to be, the timing was there. And we came to one interesting point, which I would like to ask you. Was there any time when you escape the timing and still feel comfortable? Was there such a moment in your life, or is it?
So to me, that's a very valuable time, when you are no longer thinking about the intersections of everything that's happening. When you escape the concern over timing, and I find that when I write, I lose my other thoughts. The book or the ideas take over, and my job at that point is to not interrupt, to just let those thoughts develop however they're going to develop. And I see, Michael, excuse me, when someone says, what do you do? I often will say, I'm a futurist, but not just a futurist. I'm an intersectional futurist. And that means that there's so many different things going on in life, in the world, that really is important to see how the trends meet and intersect or run parallel to each other. And so you can't just talk about one thing in the future like AI. You can't just talk about that. You need to talk about all the other trends that are going on at the same time. So I think this has a lot to do with the timing question, because the timing question is about the intersection of many trends. Does that make sense?
I think so. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, actually taking on from what Bill is saying, you think of somebody like Lionel Messi. He's the greatest footballer that's ever lived. But if he was born 150 years ago, his skills would have been worthless and never appreciated. And so we are reliant upon the time we are in. Like Bill says, the timing is everything. So if you were extremely good at sword fighting, and you were born 20 years ago, I mean, it's not going to be a great deal of help. So it's, yeah, in a way, we're all the victim of timing, and we all have to make the most of the time that we're put in, because that is our timing, and we have to adapt to it. And so in a way, timing does lead to a lot of waste. It leads to a lot of skills which could be useful in 20 years' time, never being appreciated, and skills that were useful 200 years ago, no longer needed. It's a very strange question, strange topic to think about.
It is, and there was an interesting moment when Pat think about her career, and then she said, "Then I quit in the hospital, and for 5 years she just went out of the society generally, traveling in a small mobile house and so on." And she said, one of the first things, I took away my watch. I have no wristwatch, I have no clock, I have nothing. And I become, and I asked her, did you become friend with the time? She thought, and she said, yes. And this is, she called it to be in the flow. And you used the term, Bill, before when you are writing, you are in the flow. You are in the process where generally you become the time itself. It's not that the time is hunting you or is you need to catch it. No, you become the flow or you become the time. And that I have a similar, I do not wear any wristwatches. Not a single clock here in my office is working. There are no batteries. I know it is in the notebook and so on, but I usually do not look at it. And for me, it's generally this flow. It's very, very interesting state of mind and life generally. And I do it for 10 years. So it's a very, time is my friend. And that's great. It's great to have such a friend. It's all the time with you. You never argue with him. You can argue only with you. If there is something, if you are late, it's quite interesting. And this is why the timing topic was so interesting, because when I tried to ask one of the guy from India who was in engineering in a factory, he said, and I asked him whether he can imagine to give all the clocks away and all the watches away from the factory ground. And he generally cannot imagine. And I said, you need to establish the flow, because that will be the lean factory will be a complete flow. That will be great, because everything will be connected. And as you mentioned, the cross sections, that's exactly. There will be generally no cross section, because everything will be, we can call it cross section. Everything will be connected in a way which does not need to be pushed. And this is why I ask about the timing and about your experience to be, let's say, out of the time. And as a futurist, you have to see, of course, to be somewhere outside. So it's quite interesting discussion.
So Kevin, you said timing leads to waste. Can we control timing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's difficult. I think we could relax timing. When you were talking about writing a book, it reminded me the same when I'm writing a book. You know that it'll be finished in the autumn. It'll be a couple of months to edit, and then it'll have to go into pre-production. And so it'll be out sometime in a year or so. And then other timing around that becomes less important. So then when a client says, I need it tomorrow, it's hard to take it that seriously because, you know, it seems so arbitrary. If we could remove a lot of the arbitrariness from timing and insistence, then that could actually reduce a lot of waste, I think, a lot of wasted effort, a lot of waste of skill and talent, and give talent more time to flourish and do the things it needs to do.
I like that answer. So I watch people at work who are being driven by schedules or being driven by the boss who has a deadline, oftentimes arbitrary. And the waste that goes on by the team or the people around the boss trying to make happen what the boss is saying with timing, and the absolute waste because every person on that team knows that they are skipping steps and not doing the process, the agreed upon process. It's a huge waste trying to meet somebody else's timing.
And it's interesting because, you know, it's not my time, it's not Kevin's time, it's not Bill's time, it's time. We do not possess this time. You know, when I start to travel in a time, it was so interesting to travel in the future and then recognize that it happened when it's published and so on. It's quite interesting experience. And I did not know about it until it happened. So I did not know that I was traveling the time. It was so interesting. And what you just said, it's so interesting because I have seen so many factories meetings for nothing. And then the people go to the next meeting.
Meetings, one of my favorite subjects. Yeah.
And next meeting and next meeting. And they said all the time, sorry, Michael, sorry, Mr. Rada, we don't have time to meet you. And then you meet the people having a coffee and chat with a client or supplier. No hurry, you know. But for a colleague, there was never a time to talk and discuss. So meeting is one of the, I think, we can call meeting a timing because it's a meeting, it's a time schedule and whatever. But frequently they really do not work. So they create a lot of waste and stress at the end. And stress is the result of timing. I think the result of timing can be stress.
I think another way to look at it as well is that it's almost, we almost get taxed with time. It's like a kind of taxation where you must do this in 8 hours. I want this tomorrow at 10:30, which means that we have to pay with our time to do this thing for them.
This is interesting. So I just have this thought after the noon meeting. I just said, okay, so if there will be a tool which will charge the time of others, but it will charge from your, I don't know, in money or whatever, in something, and you will see that you are wasting time of others, I think we will really significantly change our behavior if it has impact on our own wealth or health or whatever. Because then we will not waste the time of others and the others will not waste time of ours. And that will be a very interesting aspect. And I think with the digital technology, it's achievable. You can have an app in the mobile which can calculate whatever. I just listened yesterday to very interesting AI discussion. I will send you the link. It was American. I think you know the guy. I think Glenn Beck is the name of the host. And then he spoke with someone, Tristan, whatever. But it is really, really interesting discussion. And I will share it with you. So, and I have it as a part of the Industry 5.0 newsletter. Very interesting discussion. But I think that we can have this. We must teach the people to understand that time is value, and we shouldn't waste it. And this is why it's part of the Industry 5.0, the 5 categories of waste. The last one is time. So we have to prevent the wasting. Unfortunately, most of the activities which are done by the politician, decision makers, and so on are wasting of time on purpose. So the time is wasted on purpose. It's not unintentionally. It's really wasted because they have profit out of it. And that's a bad thing.
So we're using time and timing interchangeably, and I'm not sure that they are. But having said that, I'd like to go back to something that you said, Michael, that time does not belong to me. It doesn't belong to you or to Kevin. I'm not sure I can agree with that, because when I am fully engaged in something, time is not present. So if we can apply that, so how about if the whole factory is 100% engaged in the job that they're doing? 5 o'clock will come and nobody will leave, right? Because 5 o'clock means nothing.
And at the same time, it can be that generally it will be just 10 o'clock, the work will be done and nobody will be in the factory because all the work will be done already.
And if we were all 100% engaged, it would be done by 10 o'clock in the morning.
This may sound a bit strange, but I used to work in a haunted building in Germany. And
in a what building, Kevin?
A haunted building. We would see these dark shadows running around day and night. It was wasn't comfortable, but it was the way the building was. And I was thinking about what did it mean to be a ghost? And the one thing I came up with is that they have no time. It's not time time doesn't touch them any longer. They are time free. And the one thing all of us living have is time. That's like the great gift, but it's limited, which is again why we shouldn't waste it.
Why I mentioned that it's not mine or your, that we do not possess it, because the time is the entity, the complexity. We maybe have a share of something or we touch it, but it's not ours. So this is why I mentioned, and I like the impression of ghost generally, because you, Bill, when you are writing, become a ghost in some way. So as children, when they start to play, they don't realize the time. And during the discussion at the noontime, there was Michael Boyle joining this time from Austria. And he said, Michael, you know what? Time was introduced by humans. It's human thing. Because nature does not have a watch to care. No, we have introduced it. And he called it's anthropocentric or whatever. And he said it was introduced to control people. Or something like that. I do not remember exactly, and we cannot record it. And that's very interesting aspect. Very interesting.
My wife has a theory, which I should get her to come here and explain it, that time does not exist. It is a construct of man, which is just what you just said. It's a construct of man, and it in nature it does not exist. And in fact, can we shed that straitjacket that is time that we put on ourselves? So as I approach retirement and am trying to define that word, I think that one thing that retirement has is a lack of time. From morning to night, I will do what I want to do. And even this meeting on Wednesday mornings, 10 o'clock my time, would be whenever we get around to it. Michael, I'll see you sometime. There's my wife, and she and her theory of time. I tend to subscribe to that. Time is a man-made construct to control other people. Even when you and I are going to meet at 10 o'clock, in some way I'm controlling you. And if you don't show up at 10 o'clock, and maybe it's 10 minutes after 10, then society allows me to be upset with you, right? So isn't that interesting? Time.
And then
a man-made construct. That's the name for a book. Time, a man-made construct. Okay.
Your next one.
And actually, Bill, there is evidence to back this theory up. I was reading about absolute Kelvin, when if it's possible to get 0 degrees Kelvin, then there is no time. And the reason there is no time is because at 0 degrees Kelvin, nothing moves. When nothing moves, there are no events. So therefore, there is no need for time, because nothing will happen.
So interesting topic. So timing is when time is construct, so timing is a construct squared, probably.
Right. That makes sense. Because time is relative. My time is in the morning now. Your time is in the evening now. Your friends in India or Japan are probably asleep. So it's relative. And if there's pressure put on us, a deadline to submit the manuscript or whatever, that then time becomes more important. I'm always looking at my watch. Oh, I only have an hour left. Oh, I only have 45 minutes left. And time becomes very important. But that is intersectional time. That is timing, when something outside is causing us for time. It's causing time to be more important than it really is. And if we were strong enough, we could ignore that outside pressure or stop that outside pressure. Tell the boss, back off. That's your schedule. It's not my schedule. You might be able to do that once or twice. But the more that we can diminish the importance of time, I think the more that we can enjoy, that we can appreciate, that we cannot waste, the more we can diminish the importance of time.
It will be interesting to look and speak with Aborigine people, which live still in the jungles, have no watch, have no clocks. When the night is coming, they go to sleep, but generally they do not plan. They don't use this style. I don't know whether Amish in the US use clocks. Probably they do, or
I don't know.
I don't know neither, because clocks can work without electricity. So I think it is probably they do, but I don't know. But it can be quite interesting to see. And you know, it will be a great image to see the world without time. Not that it's dead, generally not moving by zero Kelvin. Kelvin, sorry, not Kevin. But to see it, it will be a very interesting image, you know. And I think that still we can live, we can even enjoy more in a way of the meaningful life, not more things. And it will be a very interesting image. So to skip timing, then get rid of time and just enjoy the life will be very interesting. I am on the way, so I will tell you when I reach there.
Actually, guys, I got an interesting thought. Just to throw it in, is that we're using time to measure the wrong thing. We use time to measure the distance between events or when an event will occur. Whereas in the old days and in astrophysics, time is a measurement of distance. You know, how far away is Prague from Copenhagen? It's 3 days on horseback. You know, that gives time a different relativity to us. I think that's where time can be used usefully, because judging 600 miles is quite difficult, but judging 3 days, we all know what 3 days is as an indicator of distance.
I think one of the reasons why the times or timing start to push us and has been used against us generally was as we get more and more accurate. You know, in the first Olympic, few seconds play no role. Today, what is 1,000th of a second can play a role, whether he or she will win some tournament. We have so accurate measurements of time that we can measure this accuracy. But if we do it as you describe, 3 days are 3 days. I don't speak whether it's 72 hours or 70. It doesn't matter generally, because it will be 3 days. So we just reached the 10 minutes to go. Interesting discussion. And again, you know, the time, Zoom is pushing us in the timing, having only 10 minutes to go. So
And they sell that. They sell time. So how does this understanding of time or the lack of using time affect the wasteless world? Will we waste less if we are able to not use time? If we are able to be fully engaged to the point where time does not matter to us,
because it cannot be
less waste.
I think because it cannot be taken separately, but it is the time is part of everything. So even of the production and so on. My answer is yes, because we will learn how not to waste our time. And if we learn how not to waste the time, how we can do it, we can use the time more efficiently. So to produce less, which will be consumed and so on. So it's a chain which is connected. And I think time is probably the connection point for as a distance, so as in a volumes and so on, and in efficiency. It can be the connection thread between all these points. So my answer is yes, we will waste less time because we will understand the value and not forget it the next day when we just been offered to do something for more money, then we are ready to waste more our time.
Actually, Michael, that's really interesting, because if you think about efficiency, people talk a lot about this just-in-time production lines and stuff like that, and that is perceived as being efficient. But it's only time efficient. It may not be resource efficient, because it could be much better to get your resources in the middle of the night when electricity is cheaper, when this is happening and that is happening. So we need to actually move efficiency, or decouple efficiency from time and couple it up to resource.
Absolutely right. And you know, I spent all my life with logistics, and this is about timing. So the most accurate, it's called not just in time, it's just in sequence, which generally you deliver the exact part on the exact place in the exact moment when the, for example, the car will be there, the red rear mirror will arrive because the car is red. So, but it's generally, it's generating so much waste all around. Just the last function or the last part to put the mirror on a car is the most effective, but the rest is full of waste. So I agree with it. I agree with it. So I think it's a topic for next book. So this is yours.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of yours, Bill.
I'm sitting here. This discussion impacts so many things, and so I'm just trying to digest. I'm trying to digest the thoughts here. Thank you.
It is great generally that you know that we have included this 1 hour. I imagine the time as a river and the flow as the flow of the river. So we are the water. So we are not watching. Many are just watching on the banks how the river is going. We become water. We become the time. And generally, this meeting is one of the island which we know will be there. It's fine. We enjoy it because we know there will be the stream will be maybe slower or faster, and we enjoy this time when it change the standard flow into something slightly different. And because we already incorporated, we don't even need the computer to remind us. We simply know it's Wednesday, the time is here, and we will speak. And I think that something similar should be taught and can be taught for people, but it's important that they do understand why. And it must be explained in a simple way, in a way which is understandable to everyone. So that's my thought. And it's the right timing for 3 of us to explain it, you know. This is why we are speaking here.
But it's like Bill says, it's interesting. We've moved from timing to time, because of course the two are related. And one, I think timing is in a way the abuse of time.
Very well named.
Why do you choose that word?
Because I think for us, you know, when we have time, we have time to write a book, we have time to relax, we have time to enjoy our lives. But when you've got to finish and deliver a strategy within 5 days, then that's not time, that's timing. And then that forces us to use our time in a different way, and to live during that time in a different way, actually.
So the intersection, what you just said, live, and timing, we need to stop time in order to really live.
Yeah, actually, yes. Or we need to spend it in a different way. Certainly, we need to have a different relationship to it.
Yes, yes, I like that. We need to have a different relationship to it so that we can understand, and so that we can get off the treadmill. Yeah.
I call it that I become friend with the time. You know,
Yes, you said that earlier.
it's not hunting me. I know I will never catch him. Why should I? We are friends. So we are sitting in one room, we are enjoying the dinner together. It's all the time here. Same as the shadow which we mentioned last time. It's here from the moment of our birth. So let's become the time, let's become the flow, let's become it. Because then we don't need a watch. I know, I'm sorry to all the Swiss watchmakers, but you know, you are more influenced by the digital and mobile phones than by my speech. But I think we can learn, and I think that I'm the example of how the life can change without having the watch, and I'm for sure not the only one. We have 1 minute 30 to the end.
No watch.
I think this is exactly maybe the next sign for Industry 5.0, no watch. So the question is whether they will not think that this is something like a sign of aggression, you know, not sure. But I think it's a good sign, you know, especially if we speak about the smart devices which tell you when you should, whatever. This is complete slavery generally through technology. Okay, so we have 1 more minute and we have to say goodbye to everyone. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the time with us. It was the right timing to deliver. And of course, all of us, we wish you have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, free, visible, and enjoy your time. That's so important. See you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.